We have some interesting Vancouver Canucks updates as it pertains to the general manager search. We're going to be heading over onto the Canucks sub because there are a number of notes that were posted about. And what I also wanted to do was dive into the biggest candidate at the moment, Kevyn Adams, formerly of the Buffalo Sabres. In this video, we'll dive into his signings, we'll dive into his trades, and just go over why he doesn't really seem like that bad of a candidate. I'm not gonna lie here. So, let's start out by taking a look at what Rick Dhaliwal said on Donnie and Dolly earlier this morning. This was posted by Canucks News Summaries on Twitter, and then the image was subsequently posted onto the Canucks subreddit, so big shout out over to Dhaliwal and Canucks News Summaries. Take a look at this, a new candidate has emerged, Ryan Bowness, the New York Islanders AGM. Dhaliwal said, keep an eye on Islanders AGM Ryan Bowness. He was interviewed by the Maple Leafs, and he was also the director of pro scouting with the Penguins when Rutherford was there. He was a player development guy with the Thrashers and the Jets, and he is Rick Bowness's son. Dhaliwal thinks there is interest. In regards to the Canucks general manager search, they are talking to a lot of people with different backgrounds, casting a wide net. He would like for them to talk to people outside of Rutherford's Pittsburgh connections, but it seems like the Canucks are relying on those same connections. Veteran names will pop up, but it's a good sign for them to talk to non-retreads. Now, that's essentially saying, hey, don't be too scared if a Peter Chiarelli or a Marc Bergevin's name enters the mix. Just because they're there does not mean they are leading candidates in this search. Although it is kind of interesting how the Canucks seem to be relying on Jim Rutherford's Pittsburgh connections once more. Name me a new story, eh? Does anyone know anything about Ryan Bowness? I'd never heard of him up until now. I will say, though, the Islanders absolutely lucked out in the lottery last year, but I do not like most of their moves in the past couple of seasons. So, as a first thought, hiring someone from that organization does not excite me in the least. Please stop with the Pittsburgh connections, Jimbo. Pick the best candidate. Much like life, it's all about who you know. I'd say this sentiment reigns more true than many of us would like to admit, or would even prefer. Paper Moonshine said, please stop with the pro scouts being GMs. It's never worked. Like Dren said, these people don't have post-secondary education. The best teams in the league have first-time GMs that have analytical backgrounds, and they are all thriving. This is so true, but I don't think it's for the reason suggested, as much as it's because these guys aren't in the hockey world from birth to death. They've lived outside the old boys club for long enough, they aren't prideful, they can admit when they make mistakes and adjust future decisions based on that. They aren't stuck in the past, and they aren't possessed of ideas that the game needs to be played X or Y way. Working in analytics and statistics means you have to adjust on the fly. You have to know that new information should change how you operate and how you think. They're just straight up smarter and more wise than general hockey guys. Their world isn't so small and insular. And when it comes to former scouts that did become GMs, I mean, yeah, Jim Benning is out there, so you could take your pick. With that said, though, let's shift over to the other scoop that was posted about by Matthew Fairburn and Thomas Drance on The Athletic earlier this morning as well. The Vancouver Canucks have officially requested permission to interview Kevyn Adams for their general manager position. This Reddit user said, okay, I really like that. Kevyn got a bad rep because of the lack of success in Buffalo, but he did a great job drafting their current core. Edit, after reading a little bit more about him, there have been reports that he is a difficult person to deal with. Anyone know more about that? Honestly, if the guy's a difficult person to deal with, maybe that's exactly what Francesco Aquilini needs as a hiree. A guy who just won't listen to him, and a guy who's tough to get that message across. If he can just build the team the right way, and have a team that's as good as Buffalo be placed in Vancouver, I'd say that's pretty good. On one hand, he basically did build the entire Buffalo core that's first in the Atlantic right now, but also Buffalo started their winning streak as soon as Adams got fired, LOL. He also dealt with an incredibly tumultuous organization at the time. 5 years ago, Buffalo was a complete tire fire, so it wasn't a simple rebuild. I'm sure the Canucks are considering his experience navigating troubled waters here. Yeah, I edited it because it seemed like he was a difficult person to deal with, yada yada yada. Perfect, hire him to draft, and then can him when we're ready. Not true. The Buffalo Sabres were in the middle of a winning streak when Adams got fired. For what it's worth, we knew he was getting fired a few games before it happened because they were out west and waited until they got home. So it might not have even been the game he got fired, but it was the game everyone knew he was getting fired soon that started their winning streak. In the scouting department, Kevyn Adams is decent in the first round, but has really failed to hit on anything outside the first, which has been a strength of our current scouting group. Granted, it may be too early to tell for some of these guys in the past couple of years, but considering how few firsts the Canucks are going to get, they'll need better than just JJ Peterka and Kozak making the NHL outside of the first round. Adams was also known to be a Pegula's boy, which doesn't bode well for a team that needs a GM and president of hockey ops to be able to stick up to the owner. As a GM, I think he'd be fine, but unspectacular, but we need someone with a bit more of a spine to fend off Frankie. So, with that said, you can also argue the opposite. If the guy is a little bit too buddy-buddy with Pegula, is that a somewhat negative aspect that could influence the way he handles his business in Vancouver? You can let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Let's head over to Kevyn Adams and take a look at some of the players that he had ended up trading away, some of the signings that he had made as well. Okay, signings, it's a long list. There are prospects, there are other guys over here. But trades, this is where we can really dive into it. So, Kevyn Adams' last trade as Buffalo Sabres GM was in July of last year. He ended up acquiring a 6th-round pick for Sam Lafferty. The trade before that, the Sabres acquired Connor Timmins and Isaac Bolivo in exchange for Connor Clifton and a second. I'm not going to really comment on this trade, not really too sure how it panned out. But the last big trade was right here. The Buffalo Sabres acquired Kesselring and Josh Doan for JJ Peterka, which actually looks like a really solid deal for both sides, taking a look at it 1 year later. Doan has been a pretty big breath of fresh air, and Peterka provided some under-the-radar scoring for Utah. Maybe not the most, but still, there was enough there. Then you have the Josh Norris trade, where the Sabres acquired Norris, who has been pretty good. Jacob Bernard-Docker ended up becoming a free agent, and he went to Detroit. Meanwhile, Dylan Cousins found his way over in the Ottawa Senators organization. Again, one of these win-win situations, although you want to see more out of Norris because you just want him to be healthier. He's been good when he's in the lineup, but he just hasn't been in the lineup all too much. You have the Bronstrom trade, Yoki Haru, Ryan McLeod. Oh, this was a really good one. Matthew Savoy's doing well in Edmonton, but Ryan McLeod's doing awesome in Buffalo. Beck Malenstein is a guy that I like a lot. He works really hard and he blocks a lot of shots. You got that trade for a 2nd-round pick. And then you have a whole bunch of draft picks over here getting swapped around. Kyle Okposo is gone. Eric Johnson is gone. Devin Cooley is gone. I like seeing this, man. All these older guys traded away for draft picks and younger players. It's pretty good. The Bowen Byram trade, maybe not really too much of a win on either side. Both players are just kind of okay. Casey Middlestad, at the very least, he is not on Colorado anymore. He got sent over to Boston. Bowen Byram still is a Sabre at the time of recording this audio. And so, over the last few years, you take a look at Buffalo and the lack of success they have had. Kevyn Adams admittedly made some pretty good trades, and building this team that is now one of the best in the league, it definitely puts him in a better light than he was when he ended up getting fired a few months ago. There's genuine reason to believe he might be a suitable candidate for a rebuilding Canucks squad, and I want you to let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. How do you feel about the idea of Kevyn Adams coming over to Vancouver? I hope you enjoyed this video, and bye.